Hi, and thank you for joining the Pyramid Show this afternoon here live on Joy News Television. My name is Emmanuel Owusu. This program is brought to you by kind sponsorship of Republic Bank and Zypes Waterproofing. Now, despite the implementation of several housing policy interventions after the post-independence in Ghana, the magnitude of the housing problem in Ghana is high, and emphatic statement that these programs did not live to expectation. And thus, as a country, we need a clearly defined and result-oriented housing policy intervention to bridge the current housing deficit and also create the appropriate environment for the development of housing sector. With key considerations such as development of the housing finance market, effective land use control, site and service schemes, public-private partnership, etc. These interventions must reflect both the past and future programs to meet the changing housing needs of the citizens. Today, we will be looking at what practical interventions can the government provide individuals to build affordably. In the studio to help us on this discussion, we have Mr. Kofi Adabo-Ofori-Amanfo. Currently, he is the president-elect and board member of the Ghana Real Estate Professionals Association and also a member of the Chartered Institute of Builders UK. Now, with Zypes, water causes a lot of problems on buildings, leading to its deterioration if not checked through defects such as rising dams, leakages in walls, and create concrete roof cracks, construction joint, and rain traces on the building. Let me introduce you to Zypes concrete products used permanently to waterproof, protect, and repair buildings, tunnels, reservoirs, bridges, and even dams. Zypes can be used to waterproof buildings in extreme conditions like waterlogged or high water table areas with no rising or carrying. The unique Zypes waterproofing technology, when applied on foundations, basements, septic tanks, in other words, manholes, swimming pools, balconies, and underground or surface water storage tanks, gives a solid guarantee against water. So call us now on this number 0302-681581, 0302-681581, or 0208-110328, 0208-110328, or 0243-426171, 0243-426171. So find us, locate us at Adabraka, that is Farisco Junction. We take a break. The show returns after this break. Thank you for staying with us. As mentioned earlier, my guest today for our discussion on what practical interventions can government provide individuals to build affordably. Once again, I have with me Mr. Kofi Adabo-Ofori-Amanfo. Kofi, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so Kofi, before we begin our discussion, most people we know of Greater Ghana Real Estate Developers Association. I didn't know that of, not much, I would say, connecting to Real Estate Professionals Association. What do you have to say with this?
Well, Emmanuel, thank you. And I believe that it's a good call. Most people have challenges really understanding the P and the D. So we have
P and the D.
Yeah, we have Greater, that is for the developers, and we have the professionals, that's the GREPA. That's where I belong, and I'm the president-elect.
And congratulations again, you are elected the president-to-be, and we pray, you continue the good work your predecessors have started.
Sure.
Now, considering our topic for today, I would want to know, let's start off with the possible interventions, policies that you think government can initiate to help, builders, developers, and even homeowners have access to buildings affordably.
Okay, so just to help our discussions, I believe that we should have a category for what we are going to do. So we have the individuals, which is the main topic, but I believe that in the current scope that we have, we need to also focus on the developers in terms of what government can do to help individuals through the developers. So with the individuals, I believe that government needs to come in and focus on providing lands. When you look at the Land Act that has been passed, 1034, government has the ability to own lands, but when you check the current statistics, it's just 10% of the lands that are in Ghana that government can come and pick it up. But I believe that when we look at what it's doing for state housing by getting some lands for state housing to do developments, government can also focus on that approach, whereby various areas could be acquired by government, and that can be serviced and given to individuals, which will reduce the possibility of litigation on the land, because if government is giving you land at an affordable rate, it's already serviced, you have your drainage made, because infrastructure development is one key factor of the housing sector. That's what is really pushing or increasing the rates of houses that's around the country. So I think the land aspect is very much important that the government should focus on.
Great. You're just telling us that's good. If the government is to go in for the lands and sell them to the citizens, that I believe is going to ease, the stress we go through, and also try and put a limit to the cost that we normally have to pay for them. But the other thing I'm asking, have this thing been done in the time past? Because reading a lot, you realize that there's been a lot of policies that have been initiated in time past by previous government, and they never lived to expectation. Have we ever experienced that before?
I think a lot of policies have come. Some policies even date back from 1999. Even 2015, there was a national housing policy that President Mahama brought. Yeah, and I think this new administration is also looking at bringing up some of these arrangements. I think what they have always focused on was making sure that they provide the total need, that's the housing. But it will also be very important that we go back to the basics and start from scratch. Because I think one major factor that is affecting individuals is land access. And people can buy lands about 4 times, and they don't own it. They get to fight, get to court, and there's a whole lot of litigations when you go to the land court in Ghana. So when they focus on that area, and I believe that the policies have really not focused on land access to individuals. It's always about the buildings, but let's start from the basics.
Now, you mentioned the act that gives the government the authority to possess these lands, and you're telling us it's just 10% so far in the custody of the government. Probably it's not been easy, even though we have the law.
Yeah, it's not been easy. The 1992 Constitution gave a lot of the rights to the chiefs and families to own lands. It's very different from even our neighboring country, Ivory Coast. When you go there, it's very easy for the government to do developments because the government has much hands on the lands available. So these are the aspects that it's very important that the government should look at.
Okay, yet, I mean, the current situation, development far-reaching, Chopoli, going beyond the Bree Mountains, even now reaching Amasama, in Sawem. So if the government is to acquire these lands in current times, it means that he's going beyond Sege. You are talking about almost getting to Duchrome, Latte. And you're asking accessibility and how feasible it is for settlers to commute to the capital city, Accra. Elsewhere, in other cities like Kumasi, Cape Coast, you're talking about Tamale. How feasible would it be?
Yeah, so if government is going to look at the approach we are talking about, it will also need to focus on spending much more on infrastructure development. I keep telling people that the next big thing is Dawa. And why? Because government is now doing the road that is leading from the Tema motorway roundabout straight to Pram Pram, after Pram Pram moving to Sege and the Dawa area. If government really focuses on that direction, I think that it will help people to move into the CBD without any stress. Mind you, currently there are people living in Winneba and coming to Accra to work. So if government is focused on opening up the city, currently Accra is very choked. You know, yeah. And if you even check the statistics, almost 46% of the households in Accra are pre-owned. That means just 46% of people own the houses that they stay in now. The rest are all rented. So it means that people can move into other satellite cities where the government should be very focused on establishing. Yeah.
Now, the effective run of this scheme, because let's take a look at the current schemes and what is happening. These affordable houses are built and they are located to quite a number of people who do not really need them. Okay, we have the affluent in society buying them and later, renting them to the people who actually need them. What is the guarantee against this policy that even if the government is to consider it, the people that need these lands will be allocated these lands?
Yeah, it's very true. I think most of these issues have been coming up whereby a section of the citizenry just take hold of some of these properties and it becomes like just for the affluent. But I think that if government is very focused on these policies, there will be stopgap measures to prevent all of this. And that will be if they will partner with the private sector, and once government gets the land, have a PPP with any private developer, hands over the land, and there are strict measures on how people should own such lands. I think that will be kept.
Now, you just mentioned PPP, and I'll be coming to that, but if you just join us, this is the Pyramid Show here and live on Joy News. And I'm asking you the question, what do you think are the possible measures that government can put in place to make home ownership as affordable as it could be, that it wouldn't be as strenuous or stressful as it is in current times? So share with me your thoughts on 0500 180 697, 0500 180 697. You can do so via SMS or even WhatsApp, and I shall be reading them. Kofi, you mentioned about PPP, that is public-private partnership, and there's been quite a number of them that has been rolled out in time past. I wouldn't want to give names, but at the end, when these private companies are done, when the project is executed and they are selling, the price is monstrous. It's excessively high, that individuals who are meant to actually go in for these houses don't even end up buying them. So why the public partnership?
Okay, so Emmanuel, it's possible. Because I think in 2020 to 2021, this current government tried the approach of the National Housing Finance Scheme, whereby it pumped money to the banks to give various mortgages to individuals. And mind you, these mortgages were priced. So the kind of house that an individual should be able to purchase with such mortgages were already established by the government. And it was working, you understand? So if the government is firm and really sets up to do what it has to do, it's very possible. And I just give an example of 2020, 2021. I've not checked the statistics of how many people were able to access. It was mainly for the public servants and people in the government. So I think that approach will work if the government is very clear on its mandate, if this current approach. And there's also this rate that Ghana Commercial Bank is trying to bring up that will help people to have such arrangements through the rent to own. That is very easy for us to continue, and that will help us also solve these challenges.
Now, a classic case, a case in point to what I said earlier, around the Temapon area, where the affordable housing currently developed by TDCs, there's this private developer there. And in the previous government, there was that partnership, the PPP. And as of now, these projects have been executed, but the selling price, you can't just phantom. You can't just accept them. It's just monstrous.
Yeah, Emmanuel, that's why I was clear.
So the PPP, I think, is not really working, because I don't see the private developer trying to develop low-cost housing. I don't see the reality of that.
Yeah, Emmanuel, so there are various factors to it. I really don't know the clauses that were in that arrangement, and that's why I can't speak to it. But I gave you an example of what I know and what I have seen work possibly. Because in 2021 and 2022, if you go for a house under the scheme that I was talking about, the National Housing Mortgage Scheme, it was supposed to be 150,000 for a 2-bedroom house.
Okay.
And it was working. People were able to get homes around that price in Tema. So it's all dependent on what government will do, and if government will marshal up the needed forces to be very stringent on the kind of arrangements they go with this PPP. That's going to be possible.
Now, I know of some, certification that are given to some developers to categorize them into the affordable housing, developers bracket. How is that functioning? Yeah, talking about, the private developers partnering the public, the government.
Yeah, I think mainly it's just for the experts that have really explored this arrangement. Because it's the Minister for Works and Housing that will give that accreditation to you. And mind you, once you get that accreditation, you have some tax holidays. Sometimes you'll be paying 1% for your corporate tax.
It's still in existence,
it's still in existence. And I think that some cooperatives can come together, some developers can come together and try and assess this, because a lot of people are using that through the GIPC. And if that approach is also given to some Ghanaian developers, it will really help us.
Now, from what you're saying, looks like most Ghanaian developers have not been given that certification.
Yeah, to the best of my knowledge, most of them don't even know about it.
Yes. Go on.
No, most of them don't even know about it. And it's also because a lot of people are really not in the affordable space. A lot of people are not focusing on the 70% of the population that are below the middle to lower income earners. Everyone is looking at the high income earners, because that is a really elaborative market that people are really cashing in. But once this certification is really published and people are aware of it, developers can also focus mainly on affordable housing.
I'm believing that not much have been said about this by the government.
Yes, certainly. But
do you think it's intentional?
It's not intentional. It's in the law. It's for you to read and know. And that's what I'm saying. Most developers don't start as developers for affordable housing. People come in as developers and they are focused on another area. The market is segmented. We have high, middle, and lower. So it depends on which one you want. But I will encourage people to look at the 70% of the population that are really below the line and go into affordable housing.
Okay, that is it. But because I'm believing that this is intentionally done by the government. Talking about the National Mortgage Scheme, you're talking about the rent assistance.
My man, you got to know. So how is the government hiding?
From where I sit, definitely I'll get to know because of the invitation to these programs and other things. But I'm talking about, that is the viewers, they getting to know these things. I think there should be that conscious effort by the government to announce this to them that, look, these schemes are here, these supports are here for you, and you need to come for them.
Certainly, I agree with you on that point. I think government should make it clear so that it will be very out there. It will be out there for a lot of individuals to know about, especially the developers. Yeah.
Especially the developers. So if you just join us, this is the Pyramid Show once again, and I would want to know your thoughts about the discussion. Please let me know what measures you think the government can put in place to help individual homeowners build affordably. We take a break, the show returns. Luxury, exclusivity, and your dream home await you at Star Properties, located within Lakeside City. Star Properties is developed by Advanced Construction and Development Limited, financed by Silver Star Tower. This is where Ghanaian families find their perfect haven with over 100 custom-built homes, each tailored to your desire. Star Properties offer high-speed internet, MTN fiber internet connectivity, 24/7 security, 3 recreational parks, and a gated enclave within Lakeside City Community 8. Join our thriving community today and live the life you deserve. Contact Viglo on the number 050-127-9284, 050-127-9284, or send us an email, viglo@silverstartowers.com. For further inquiries, visit our website, silverstartowers.com. Up next is the interactive segment with Audrey Dushi Cafe.
Thank you. So today on our interactive segment, we are asking of your opinion on what you think governments can put in place to cut down the cost of buildings. So you can send in your messages to us on X at the pyramid_show, Twitter, WhatsApp or SMS. The number is 0500-180-697. So our first comments coming in from Enoch Amasaman. Interesting discussion from last week. The corruption about these schemes make it fail. Such buildings are allocated to the affluent who don't need them. The people that need them end up renting from these rich people at a higher cost. The system needs to be strictly regulated. I believe the government should consider social housing. It is one major strike to overcome this challenge. Ghanaians who cannot pay their rent or buy a house will be allocated these units. In certain parts of Europe, rental vouchers are given to the least privileged as a subsidy for their accommodation. Hi, I am Ohovi. I have enjoyed the show. Please consider a discussion on the National Mortgage Scheme and the Rental Assistance Scheme. I agree with your guests beyond 100%. Looking at the current stress one has to go through to acquire land is becoming a rocket science experience. Spending more to have one. We need the government to intervene by acquiring land banks to help ease the situation. This would help the cost of building. That came from Pebi from Agrek in Zima. So you can still keep sending in your messages on WhatsApp or via SMS. The number is 0500-180-697. Hello, TPS. The so-called affordable housing scheme are there, but the devil is in the detail. The requirements and the prices are in dollars. That's the actual problem. I would like to ask, if I own a land, could they help put up the house while payment is done in installment? Whilst payment is done in installment. So your messages will still be read. Make sure you add your names and your place of location so we can address you properly. Okay, that will be all for the interactive segment.
Thank you very much, Audrey Dushi Kafu. So, yes, so you can keep sending your messages via SMS or WhatsApp to the number she mentioned, 0500-180-697. The show continues with Mr. Kofi Dabo, who has joined us on the discussion so far. It's been an interesting one with the questions that have come in, the messages that have come in. You have any that you would want to address before we move on?
Yeah, I think largely housing is a very important thing. I think I saw one on land ownership, that the individual has lands and whether government will try and build it for them. I think Republic Bank is a sponsor on this show. They have opportunities whereby you can build to a point and they continue for you.
Yes.
So I think that it's a good point that they can get to Republic Bank and that can work for them.
Okay. Now, earlier on, you mentioned to us some of the policies or interventions you think government can initiate. You spoke about government acquiring lands. Also, you've mentioned the public-private partnership, the PPP. Any other interventions that you think the government need to consider and roll out?
Yeah, so I think two major aspects that are left are the materials and the finance part. But just to emphasize on the point of the service lines, it's also important that government really invest in infrastructure development, because people will be interested to move very far from Accra if there's water, if there's power, that's light, and if there's easy access to
But individuals have been doing this on their own. They buy lands and they bring connection of electricity. They are looking at connecting water to their houses. And how does this cut down the cost for them?
And that's why it's also very expensive for them to construct their own homes, or even developers, very expensive for them to do.
How expensive is it?
Yeah, because when you look at the total budget of a developer for an estate, it moves between 15 to 45% of the total project
Making
cost.
provision for electricity, water.
Electricity, water, proper drainage system, transportation systems in terms of the road, between 15 to 45%.
So, in your suggestion, is the government supposed to do this just for developers, or the government can look at on a larger scale, even for the citizen, to also buy service plots so that they do not pump money into getting all these provisions to their houses?
Yeah, so it's in two ways. If the government chooses to do the service lines that we are promoting, I think that then the government needs to do such amenities. If the government will now fund such developments for developers, that is also a way that we can try to match.
But what has been the major reason why we've not seen government roll out this fantastic idea?
Yeah, because there have been funding issues, and that's why I say it's very good that currently, starting from, I believe, 2019 coming, there's been this REIT, that's the Real Estate Investment Trust on the Stock Exchange, where people can buy shares into, and developers can go in for such long-term loans to do the development. So if government really focuses on promoting the REIT in Ghana, I believe there will be easy access to financing for some of these developers to do what they have to do. And it will also help the mortgage institutions to have easy access to long-term financing that will help people have their purchasing power and not just focus on building on their own, but really buying into estates and making sure that our environment is neat.
No, in all these, you've not mentioned the government adequately, resourcing, funding the state institutions like the State Housing Corporation, the TDCs, and the likes. Why?
Yeah, because I think they have been doing it. TDC.
I don't think they've been effective that much. Looking at the gap, the housing deficit gap, then clearly there's more work to be done by these state institutions.
No, but you can't use just these various state institutions to really populate the 2.1 million housing deficit that is there. That would be very difficult. So I think that they are doing their bit. When you look at the state housing currently, they are really pushing up. They have a lot of development coming up in Pokwase currently and also in Adenta. So they are doing their bit. TDC is also pushing with the current developments that they're having. But there has to be a broader approach to it, involve private sector, because that is where we can thrive, and that's where individuals can also push to push. And if you look at the total housing stock that is supplied onto the market from our friends Greater, it's very interesting, and that's what is really even helping us to stay afloat on the supply side.
Yes, clearly I do agree with you that these state institutions, they cannot just bridge the gap. It's just a huge step for them to embark. But if the government is to consider not just affordable housing, but something like social housing, which was recommended by Mr. Kojopani in the previous 2 episodes. And then we can have more housing units, typically for the lower income earners, so that not everybody would be going for the building of a home.
Yeah, that's true. But if you check our cultural settings and the kind of understanding that Ghanaians have, our culture really doesn't embrace that approach of social housing. It's a very good point that we can also look at. But before doing that, we need to really invest in education and helping people to understand that this is our culture, but we are having real issues continuing this way. So we need to move into a different sector. So yeah, I ascribe to social housing, but there has to be a lot of work and education on it before we move into it. Otherwise, they will just be there and people will not patronize it.
For what basic reason do you think people wouldn't patronize? Is it the design, how it's built?
Yeah, I think it's 2 ways. Our culture and how we've all been groomed into. Everybody wants to go 360 around their house. People have this mentality that I don't want someone staying above my head. You understand? But when you go to China, people are now having farms up their roof. It's very interesting how we all get it. But that is how we've started. That's how we've always been. And we need real education on the essence of we move into a new direction. And that's where we should start from.
Great. Now, you mentioned about schemes that you think interventions government can consider. What about the current one? Let's talk about the National Rent Assistance Scheme, where the government is practically almost giving, support to people who want to rent. And what do you make about that?
I think
we sustain it.
Yeah, I think it should be sustained. It's a good approach because yes, we should have some of these stopgap measures for the needy in society. But one of the major blocks that I believe that the scheme might face is funding. And if the development bank's agenda that is trying to propose currently, if they are able to get enough funding in there, I'm sure the fund then can get some funding from the Development Bank of Ghana to help facilitate some of this approach. I don't have the current statistics of people who have had easy access to the rent assistance, but I believe when these statistics come, we'll be able to dissect it and really know the kind of impact that is having. But we having that is very key and is good.
We having that is very, very key. How significant would the impact of this rental assistance?
Yeah, I gave you the initial statistics that in Accra, in Greater Accra, it's just 46% of people who own the homes and are staying in it. So the rest of us are all renting homes. So if the rest of the 54% are renting, it means with such an approach or such a scheme to help the individuals get assistance for their rentals, I think it's very laudable, and that's very good.
Okay.
But the stopgap measure should be adequate funding to make sure that we continue, and this will not be just for a year or two, but it should continue. Yeah.
Okay, so you've mentioned two major, interventions that you think government can consider. I think you touched on design and another one. You want to go back to them?
Yeah, so I think one major point is our material base. If you look currently, over 90% of our materials used in construction in Ghana are imported. That's one of the
90%.
Yeah, that's why most of the developments that are happening are quite expensive, because just back to our notions and how we think, we believe that everything made in Ghana, it's not good, and that's why I ascribe to what the Trade Ministry is doing, made in Ghana, trying to promote made in Ghana.
With construction materials, what building materials are produced in Ghana actually?
Yeah, so but we produce tiles in Ghana. We produce some sanitary ware in Ghana. We have our own cement. We have sand.
I mean, with cement, even with the importation of the clinker.
Yeah.
But talking about the manufacturing of these building materials, with tiles and what else?
Yeah, I think
virtually nothing we produce here.
Yeah, so it falls back to the government, and I think GIPC should also push that approach, and free zone developers in this country should also look at that, where we will attract some companies that will manufacture some of these products in Ghana. But it's all because of our taste. Emmanuel, when I tell you, when you go to Northeast,
okay,
90% of the citizens there own their own homes. Why? Because they are focused on using local materials found in their environment. 90% own their own homes. So these aspects of materials, mind you, we have now started using a lot of concrete cement blocks. And when you even look at its burning capacity, it's just 12 hours and a whole building of concrete will be down. But when you use this earth bricks that we have easily available here, it's 72 hours. But the research is there. We are not really educating a lot of people to move into that direction, and we are still staying where we are. If you look at the government's agenda for this, Agenda 111, the initial designs were to use some of these bent bricks to do the construction. But moving into actualization, it has really changed. They are using these concrete blocks. I don't know why, but we need to go back to the basics.
But you see, sometimes probably the citizens, or let's say the occupants, they don't really know what they want. Probably for lack of education, and also being open-minded, they are stuck to what they've known all this while. So as developers, why don't you start the construction of these different use of materials, like you're saying, bricks, you're talking about rammed earth, even to the extent of timber. Once maybe the citizenry they see, then they would embrace it.
No, but it will be dangerous for the developers to start. It would be important for government to do such developments and use such materials on public facilities. So if they went on to use it on all the Agenda 111 buildings, you go around the hospitals, you see how it is, you really stay in the hospital and you feel how it is. You will come home, and because you have seen it,
yes,
you will try to implement it, and developers will now have the space and the luxury to start adopting it because people really love it and are okay with it. But it will be very dangerous for developers to start with it before government comes in.
Okay, now let's agree that most of these building materials are imported. Now the government, to me, most often deliberately put a lot of taxes on these materials, knowing that no matter what the cost be, the people will go for them.
Yes.
Don't you think it's time maybe the government reduces the taxes on these imported building materials to make it affordable? If the government is really serious about a campaign of trying to, bridge the gap.
I think it's in two folds. So the government should reduce the taxes on the ones that we don't produce in Ghana, so that we'll be able to get those materials to produce to develop our houses. But the ones that we have various companies, like the tiles, like some ceramics, some sanitary wares, there should be those taxes in there to push people away from importing. Even though they will still do that, government needs money, so he can do that. But the ones that we are producing in-house, I think a lot of people should rather patronize it. We should help them through this 1D1F if it's really working. We should help them, give them that capacity. Most of the products are good, but the packaging is it's a problem. Government should move in and just assist so that Ghanaians will really understand the need for some of these materials.
So Ghanaians need to understand the need to support, domestic factories so that they can survive. This is the Pyramid Show once again. We take a break. The show returns. So take your home ownership plan a notch higher the Republic Bank way. As pace setters in the mortgage business, we offer you faster processing time, ultra low interest rates, and you can choose from a long list of our partner developers. Whether it is home purchase, home equity, home completion, or home improvement, we have your back. So talk to our mortgage specialist today. Call us or WhatsApp us on this number 0540-109649, 0540-109649, or 0540-109901, 0540-109901. Kindly follow us at Republic Bank Ghana on all social media platforms for your regular updates. Republic Bank, we are the one for you. Now, Kofi, but in the meantime, the phone line is activated, so you can also call and be part of the discussion ongoing here in the studio. So the numbers on your screen, call and also be part of the discussion. Now, let me say, I just received a text from the public relation officer of the National Rental Assistance Scheme, Mr. Emmanuel Posu. Yes, of course, one of these days we pray to have you. We pray to have you because quite a number of our viewers would want proper understanding of the scheme and how they can also be successful applicants. So thank you very much, the PRO for National Rental Assistance Scheme, Mr. Emmanuel Posu. Kofi, it's been an interesting discussion so far. You've touched on quite a number of things. I think you were talking about the need to consider the materials. One, to use locally produced ones, and also to be dynamic. We have to embrace new ideas. Any other you want to add on?
Yeah, so on the material bit, I think that, currently in Ghana, when people start developing new ways of doing things, it becomes very much expensive because there's not much light on it. So Ramdet has started, people have started using Ramdet. That gives you little use of cement and also reduces the amount of reinforcement you need to put in. But it's currently very expensive because a lot of people don't know about it. There are very few specialists in and around the country that will help you to use Ramdet. But mind you, it's normal soil, so they can come to your area, they test the soil and see its capacity, the stress-bearing capacity of it, and they will use it to build a home for you. So I believe that and it moves to my next point of funding research into housing.
Now you hold on with the funding. Let me talk to Bismarck. Hello, Bismarck.
Yeah, big man. I think you guys are doing very good.
Thank you.
But I want you guys to define what affordable house, the meaning of affordable house, and what are some of the factors that come to play that makes it more affordable. That's my question.
Okay, thank you very much, Bismarck. I think we've had this extensive discussion in our previous episode, but I would make Kofi touch on it. But if you want more details, then you go to, that is our YouTube page, Join News, the YouTube page. You can pick all the previous discussions from there, and it's really going to help you. Kofi,
But I think the standard has been set for affordable houses.
Yes, that's
It's
30% income.
30% of income. I think Canada is doing 40%. So yes, we can look at it, but the standard is 30%. So you calculate your income, everything that comes to you, either monthly or annually, then you weigh it against what you're paying for rent and see whether it's 30% or less. If it is less, then you're in the gap. Yeah.
Okay, let me talk to Jude. Hello, Jude from Kaswa.
Yes. Good afternoon. I think I've joined the conversation quite late, but I want to ask Mr. Kofi Adabo some few questions. At least one. Regards to buildings that already have been built and sold, and buildings that individual would build. Sometimes people that don't really have money would want to fall on these companies because they sell. So people would want to go to them and buy them. But when you go to them, the people outside tell you that their buildings are inferior because of the material they use. So my question is, which one would you advise to someone who earns probably 5,000 to 6,000 a month? Would you advise that we build or we go and buy from these real estate companies?
Okay, so let me give you very good advice from here. One, you take a mortgage from Republic Bank, and these are the advantages with it. As you build, okay, and you are also living in a rented apartment, you end up paying double. You are spending money on your project and at the same time spending money on your rent. So why don't you take a mortgage? Once you take a mortgage from Republic Bank, what happens is that you move straight away into the building. So the monies that would have been used on your building project and your rent are now being channeled towards the paying of your mortgage. So that's one brilliant advice I would want to give you. But Kofi will take it out from here. Hello, Kofi.
Oh, no, I think, Emmanuel, you've really done justice to it. The only thing I want to add is that it's a choice. When you are buying from an estate developer, you are buying into an estate. And you are choosing the kind of neighbors you would have, your kids will have, and you determine to a large extent the kind of environment you want to be in. But if you are building on your own, you don't know who is coming next to your house, whether he's going to follow the building code and build a 5-story building, and you have just a 1-story, and you have issues with your air pollution and everything. But once you purchase an estate, I'll certainly move.
I know you're a big-time real estate mogul. I know of your good work. We will find time to have a discussion.
Sure, we'll discuss
real estate, setting it up, managing it, and other things.
Yeah.
But on the back of this, let's come back to this debate, to build, to buy, because it wasn't just about, how to invest the money. He wanted to know if he's also to build or he has to buy. Where do you start?
Yeah, so if he doesn't have the capacity now to build totally, then he should go in for a mortgage and get a home.
Okay, so you can call the number on your screens and also be part of the discussion. The number on your screen and be part of the discussion. So you've touched on the materials and any other?
Yeah, so just to finish, I think government should really fund research into housing. There are a lot of institutions currently. I think there are various...
Building and road research.
Yes. We should fund it, whereby a lot of people will now really come to understand how around it is working and how it's developing, so that it can also reduce the rates people are charging in town. But that is real material that can be used. It even helps you to have a serene environment, and it even reduces the kind of power and consumption in your home, because you don't use a lot of air conditioning.
Now let me go to Accra, Newtown.
Hello.
Hello. Courage.
Yeah,
Asari.
Yes.
Please go on, Asari.
Okay. I'm a pensioner, all right? I'm not feeling financial. I've retired by force, so. But I wanted to use the little allowances that I received. I wanted to get a mortgage, but it seems I've called several estate agencies to try and help me at least, so that I can use my allowance to get a home, so that I can have a peace of mind, instead of using that little allowance to be paying rent. But I've tried several times, but I'm not getting. They said my allowance is very small.
Okay. Okay, sorry. So I think Kofi would attend to you. This is very important. I think going forward, we look to have, that is the National Mortgage Fund. And probably when they come, we believe there will be a place for you. And also make sure to talk to Republic Bank. I know they can have something for you. It works with Republic Bank. So when we are done, just send us a WhatsApp to the 0500 186 97 and we can talk to you further after the show. Kofi?
Yeah, I think, Mr. Sari, one thing that you can look at is the rent-to-own options. I'm sure your allowance can be equated to some rents, and there are some facilities in Tama through the RIT GCB that is rent-to-own. So once you are paying rent, I'm sure for some time you'll be able to accumulate enough rent that has been paid and you own the home. So that approach will help you, because I don't think all the allowances that you get will be able to fund for a mortgage.
Okay, so to the Twin City, Takrade Mark. Hello, Mark.
Yeah. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, my brother.
Yeah.
Please go on.
You are doing a great show.
Thank you very much.
Right. I want to know if you can deal with this issue for me, that you project the least and then that graduated form to the highest mortgage that you can afford or you can acquire in Ghana. We are really not sure, confused. Sometimes they quote in dollars and so on, and our economy doesn't allow that. So we want to know the basic, at least the least mortgage that you can find in around town.
Okay, so Mark, understanding you want to know that is the least mortgage one can apply for or have with the mortgage banks. Okay, it's a good question. This I will need an expert to get us the figures. So please just talk to us after the show. The same number, 0500 186 97, 0500 186 97, and we shall respond to you. Kofi, other interventions government can do?
Yeah, I think the last point I want to say, taking it from Mr. Sari's point, I think that when you listen to the MD for the stock exchange, there are a lot of money sitting in the pensions companies that I think government should have a way where it will also be given to developers to have about 20 to 30 years of funding, which will also reduce the amounts of houses that it's quoted for. So pension funds, I think, is one go-to area that we can also look at to fund our housing sector in the country.
Okay, so before we go, I would want to have your final words, final remarks before we go.
Yeah, I think what I want to say is that housing is very important, and I believe that one thing that is lacking in the country currently is the National Housing Authority that will really focus on the entire housing sector, bringing developers and all professionals in the sector to play and really govern the sector. I think the sector needs to be properly governed to help all of us. And I also encourage professionals out there who are not part of the Ghana Real Estate Professionals Association to join us. We'll be having our conference in October, and you'll hear much more about that. Thank you. Okay, so our guest today, Mr. Kofi Adabo Ofori-Mafo. Currently, he is the President-elect of the Ghana Real Estate Professionals Association, and is also a current member of the Chartered Institute of Builders UK. He joined us on the discussion, what practical interventions can government provide individuals to build affordability. This is the Pyramid Show. My name is Emmanuel Owusu-Ansah. We'll be coming your way same time next week. Have a fruitful week.